Hello and welcome back. Now that we have finished talking about these three services in Virtual Private Network, AWS Direct Connect, and AWS Storage Gateway, which are part of AWS's hybrid environment offerings, I now want to talk specifically about VPC peering. So in this case, instead of connecting our on-premise data center to the AWS cloud, we're going to look at connecting VPCs within AWS to each other. So for that, let's go back and then click here on VPC peering. And what we're going to look into is connecting one VPC to a second VPC. So let's take a look up here at VPC Essentials and understand what we're talking about. So VPC peering is used to extend your private network from one VPC or one subnet, or specifically one instance, to another VPC. So basically what we want to do is we want to share resources in one particular VPC with resources in another VPC. This is for sharing internal resources via private IP addresses. So we want an EC2 instance in, let's say, VPC1 to connect via the private IP address with an EC2 instance in VPC2. We do not want to have to send our traffic out through the internet gateway over the open internet and into the other VPC. So again, this is for sharing internal resources via private IP addresses. VPC peering can only occur between two VPCs that are in the same region. So I'll exit this right here, and we see that we have our region container here. It's important to understand that VPC peering can only occur between VPCs that are in the same region. So if this is US East 1, all of our VPCs that we're going to peer have to be in US East 1. We cannot peer a VPC in US East 1 with a VPC that is in US West 1. You cannot do that. Now, you can, however, configure VPC peering between two VPCs in different accounts. So I can have a VPC in my account, you can have a VPC in your account, and we can peer those VPCs and have our EC2 instances communicate with each other through their private IP addresses. However, again, both of our VPCs and our separate AWS accounts must be in the same region. Also, to peer VPCs, they must have separate, non-overlapping CIDR block ranges. That's very important. If you ever have an issue with VPC peering, it very well may be that one, they're not in the same region, or they have overlapping CIDR block ranges. Also, transitive connections are not allowed. And what do I mean by transitive connections? Well, let's pretend that there is no connection right now, no peering between VPC2 and VPC3. But there is a connection from VPC1 to VPC3 and VPC1 to VPC2. Now, what transitive connections would allow, it would allow resources in VPC2 to communicate with resources in VPC3 because VPC1 is connected to VPC2 and VPC1 is connected to VPC3. So basically, we're saying that VPC2 could communicate through VPC1 to VPC3, but that's not the case because transitive connections are not allowed in VPC peering. So for VPC2 to communicate with VPC3, it has to have a direct peering connection between the two. Also, you can configure the peering to connect to the entire VPC or just specific subnets. So we can connect this VPC or subnets in this VPC to specific subnets in this VPC, not just connecting all subnets in both VPCs to each other. So that is just a quick introduction to VPC peering, and next we're going to have a full hands-on lab on setting up and configuring VPC peering. So for now, we will conclude this lesson. Thank you for watching. You may now move on.